Welcome to Norwich, where I'm filming on the Lady Julian footbridge over the River Wensum. The bridge opened 12 years ago, and for anyone arriving to the city by train, it provides a short route to reach St Julian's Church and the Cell. Through much of its history, Norwich was the second largest city in England. During the Middle Ages, it was described as Europe's most religious city, with a tradition of solitaries and hermits. So Julian would have been one of several anchorites enclosed here. While she is the first known woman to write a book in English, we know little else about Julian, not even her real name. Which places and buildings did she know, and how well? We can only guess at this, as every detail about her life is open to question. Many of the surviving medieval buildings in Norwich were either rebuilt in the 15th century or have been completely modernised. The River Wensum, of course, is one feature of the local landscape that's remained, and unlike the buildings, has changed very little. The river was an important highway before roads were built, and it brought great wealth to the port of Norwich. Leather, wool, and later cloth and grain were shipped out to northern Europe, while stone, spices, Flemish fabrics and Scandinavian timber arrived here by boat. Julian would have known the river and have been aware of its trading links. In chapter 7 of the long text, she describes her vision of Christ's bleeding head during his passion. As for the roundness of the drops, they were like herring scales as they spread out over the forehead. It's quite possible that Julian bought herrings from the local market, as they were a staple of the medieval diet, and the nearby port of Yarmouth was the centre for the herring industry during the Middle Ages. In the late 13th century before Julian's birth, Edward I gave permission to build a flint defence wall around Norwich. Enclosing 1 square mile, it was 2 miles long. With 20-foot high walls that were 5 feet thick, Norwich became the longest walled town in the country. The southern entrance to the city was defended by the South Gate, just across from King Street, where the wall ends today. King Street was the longest main road in the city, travelling through an area known as Conisford. It was an important commercial route due to its closeness to the river. Wealthy medieval merchants built their dwellings and warehouses here. One such building is Dragon Hall, a medieval merchant's trading house. It lies between St Anne's Lane and Old Barge Yard, just across the road from St Julian's Alley. In the 1300s, this L-shaped house, owned by a John Page, was built with an undercroft and entrance. The upper trading hall wasn't built until the 1450s. Julian may well have walked past the doorway onto Old Barge Yard. The music house is the only 12th century secular building known to have survived in Norwich. It became known as the Music House in the 1720s, when the City Waits, a group of civic musicians, used to practice here. Its earliest owners are unknown, and in 1225 the house was sold to Isaac, son of Gernot the Jew. Isaac, a famous financier, was the most prominent member of the Jewish community who settled in Norwich. Julian may well have walked past this building, occupied then by John of Dunstan, and later by the Paston family. In medieval times, Norwich had over 60 parish churches, Most of these are now lost, their foundations hidden from our view. Along with St Julian, 2 others on King Street remain today. St Etheldreda is named after the Anglo-Saxon princess who founded Ely Cathedral in 679. It may have originally been a chapel for the Ely men who guarded Norwich Castle. The rebuilt round tower is one of 4 still surviving. St Etheldreda was the last of the city churches to lose its thatched roof. St Peter Parmentergate means Street of the Leather Workers, so this suggests they may have worked in this area. A church has been on this site since Anglo-Saxon times, but the building we see now dates from the late 15th century. Like other churches on this side of King Street, St Peter's stands well above the floodplains of the River Wensum. We can only guess about Julian's life, where she lived, and the places she knew before receiving her revelations and becoming enclosed as an anchorite. Much longer lasting than any of those buildings, however, is Julian's most important legacy, her writing, which lives on today.